Billionaire picks up his son from school and sees a poor mom and her daughter sad because she has no backpack. What he does changes their lives. The morning was bustling at Jefferson Elementary School. The parking lot was buzzing with cars pulling up and leaving, doors opening and closing, and children's voices filling the air. The sun was already high, illuminating the red brick building and the well-kept garden at the entrance. Daniel parked his discreet car in a spot near the entrance. He turned off the engine and looked in the rear-view mirror, checking if Noah was ready. The 6-year-old was already unbuckling his seatbelt, eager to get out. "Hold on, champ," Daniel smiled, stepping out of the car and opening the back door. Noah jumped out, adjusting the blue backpack on his shoulders. It was a new backpack, with grey details and a small car keychain hanging from the zipper. The boy loved that keychain. "Come on, Dad." "I'm going to be late." Daniel laughed and held his son's hand as they walked along the sidewalk. Around them, other children ran toward the entrance, some dragging backpacks bigger than they were, others skipping the steps of the staircase. That was when Daniel noticed an old car with faded paint and a dent on the rear door stopped a few yards ahead. The engine made a strange noise before turning off, as if pleading for rest. The driver's door opened with a creak. Rachel stepped out of the car. She was young, perhaps in her early 30s, with a tired face and slightly slumped shoulders, like someone carrying too much weight. She wore a simple work uniform, black pants and a white shirt that had seen better days. She opened the back door and helped her daughter step out. Grace was 5 years old. She was a blonde girl with light hair falling over her shoulders and blue eyes that sparkled even through the exhaustion of the early morning. Her cheeks were pink, and she wore a simple dress, clean but visibly mended in some parts. But what caught Daniel's attention was what Grace was holding against her chest, a cloth bag. The bag was beige, worn out from use, with stains that wouldn't come out anymore, and stretched handles. Grace held it with both hands, clutching the thin fabric as if trying to make it invisible. The girl took a few steps and stopped. Her light eyes moved slowly, observing the other children around. Colorful backpacks swung in every direction, pink with cartoon characters, green with dinosaurs, purple full of sequins, all brand new, all perfect, and Grace had an old cloth bag. She lowered her head and gripped the bag even tighter. Daniel felt something in his chest, but he didn't know exactly what yet. He just watched, like a spectator to a scene that shouldn't be happening. Grace stopped walking and turned to her mother, who was carefully closing the car door, like someone who doesn't want to force a broken hinge. "Mom?" Grace's voice was low, almost ashamed. Rachel turned, adjusting the purse on her shoulder. "Yes, honey." Grace looked around one more time, seeing the colorful backpacks, the smiles, the carefree children. Then she looked at her own cloth bag. "Mom, everyone has a backpack, except me." The words came out slowly, but each one weighed like lead. Rachel felt her chest tighten. She quickly knelt down in front of her daughter, trying to smile, but embarrassment was stamped on her face. She placed her hands on Grace's small shoulders and took a deep breath. "Honey, Mommy doesn't have the money right now." Rachel's voice came out shaky, strained. She looked away, unable to meet her daughter's bright eyes. She knew Grace didn't fully understand how money worked, but she felt it. She felt that something was missing. She felt she was different. Grace just nodded, biting her lower lip. She didn't cry. She didn't complain. She just adjusted the bag on her shoulder and started walking towards the school entrance. Head bowed, steps slow. Rachel stood still, watching her daughter walk away. She closed her eyes for a second, took a deep breath and got back into the car. She needed to get to work. She didn't have time to fall apart, but someone was watching everything. Noah, the 6-year-old boy, was standing next to his father a few yards away and heard every word. He looked at Grace walking with the old bag, then looked at his own new blue backpack on his back. Noah's face changed. The morning cheerfulness disappeared. His eyes became serious, sad, moved. He felt something strange in his chest, something he couldn't name yet, but it hurt. He tugged hard on his father's sleeve. "Dad," Daniel looked down, seeing his son's worried expression. "What is it, Noah?" Noah subtly pointed towards Grace, who was almost at the school door. "That girl," he said, his voice low. She doesn't have a backpack. I saw. Noah was silent for a few seconds, thinking. Then he looked at his father with those big, sincere eyes. Dad, can I give her my backpack? Daniel felt something stir inside him. He looked at his son, surprised, touched. Noah was just a child, but he already understood the pain of others. He already wanted to help. Daniel knelt down, getting to his son's height. He put his hand on his shoulder and smiled, proud. We're going to do better. Noah tilted his head, curious. How? Go inside the school, Daniel said, firm but affectionate. Dad will take care of it. Noah looked into his father's eyes. He knew that look. When his father said he would take care of it, he did. Promise. I promise. Noah smiled, confident. He waved to his father and ran inside the school, the blue backpack swinging on his back. Daniel stood still for a few more seconds, watching Rachel get into the old car. She looked exhausted before the day even began. Daniel sighed, got back into his car, and started the engine. He drove for 20 minutes until he found a large stationery store in the city center. The place was spacious, filled with natural light streaming through the windows. Colorful shelves filled the space. Backpacks of all sizes hung on the walls. Shelves packed with notebooks, pens, pencil cases, and school supplies. Daniel walked in and looked around, thoughtful. A young saleswoman approached, smiling. Good morning, can I help you? Yes. Daniel put his hands in his pockets. I need a backpack for a 5-year-old girl. Of course, we have several children's options. Any preference for color or theme? Daniel thought of Grace. He remembered her bright eyes, her blonde hair, the shy way she held the old bag. He imagined what would truly make a child that age smile. Pink, he said, determined. And with stars, if you have one. The saleswoman smiled, excited. We have a perfect one. Follow me. She led Daniel to a shelf at the back of the store, where several children's backpacks were displayed. There were cartoon characters, colorful stripes, bright flowers, but one caught his eye immediately. It was light pink, almost soft, with gold stars scattered all over the front and sides. It had padded straps, a front pocket with a silver zipper, and was the perfect size for a small child. It wasn't exaggerated, it wasn't too childish. It was delicate. That one, Daniel pointed without hesitation. I'll take that one. Great choice. It's one of our best sellers. Would you like anything else? We have pencil cases, lunch boxes. Daniel looked at the surrounding shelves. He saw colorful pencil cases hanging on hooks next to the backpacks. A pencil case that matches the backpack. The saleswoman grabbed a pink pencil case with silver stars, matching perfectly. It was simple, pretty, functional, perfect. Daniel approved. Then he saw a small shelf with keychains. There were several models, cars, animals, flowers, but one caught his attention. It was a small pink teddy bear, fluffy, with a little star embroidered on its belly. That keychain too, he pointed. Put it on the backpack. The saleswoman smiled, taking the keychain and clipping it onto the backpack zipper. Done. It looks beautiful. Is it a gift? It is. For your daughter? Daniel hesitated for a second. For a very special little girl. The saleswoman took everything to the counter and wrapped it carefully. Daniel paid, thanked her, and left the store with the bag in his hands. He returned to the car and placed everything on the back seat. He looked at the pink backpack, gleaming under the sunlight that entered through the window. The little keychain swung lightly. For the first time in a long time, Daniel felt he was doing something genuinely important. The hours passed slowly. Daniel worked from home that day, but his mind kept returning to the same scene. Grace holding the old bag, Rachel saying she had no money, Noah wanting to give away his own backpack. When it was finally time to pick up Noah from school, Daniel was anxious. He parked in the same spot as always, grabbed the stationery bag and got out of the car. The afternoon sun beat down hard on the parking lot. The school doors opened and children began running out, shouting, laughing, releasing the day's accumulated energy. Daniel saw Noah coming out the door, looking for him among the parents. When the boy saw him, his face lit up. He waved and ran to his father. Did you get it? Noah asked, breathless from running. Daniel smiled and showed him the bag. I did. He opened the bag and pulled out the pink backpack. Noah's eyes sparkled as if he were seeing a treasure. It's so pretty. She's going to love it. You think so? I'm sure. Daniel knelt down and handed the backpack to his son. Then you give it to her. Noah held the backpack carefully, as if holding something precious and fragile. He looked around, searching for Grace among the departing children. Where is she? They waited a few minutes. Then Daniel pointed. There. Grace was coming out of the door slowly, alone, the same cloth bag on her shoulders. She looked tired, dragging her feet, looking down at the ground. Noah took a deep breath and ran up to her. Grace! The blonde girl looked up, surprised. She knew Noah from school, same grade, but they had never talked much. Hi, Grace said, shyly. Noah stopped in front of her, holding the pink backpack. He smiled, that pure, sincere smile of a child who doesn't yet know malice. It's for you. Grace blinked, confused. What? Noah held out the backpack. So you won't be sad anymore. My dad and I bought it for you. Grace froze. She looked at the pink backpack with gold stars, at the matching pencil case, at the fluffy little keychain hanging from the zipper. Her bright eyes widened. For me? For you. Grace dropped the cloth bag on the ground. She took the backpack with both hands, slowly, carefully, as if it might disappear at any moment. She clutched it against her chest, feeling the new fabric, the smell of the store, the perfect weight in her small hands. Then she smiled, a big, real smile, full of pure joy. I thank you. Her voice came out small, emotional. Noah smiled too, happy to see her happy. You're welcome. Do you like the stars? Grace nodded, her eyes shining. They're beautiful. It was at that moment that Rachel appeared. She was rushing, worried about being a few minutes late from work. But when she saw Grace holding a new, shiny, perfect backpack, she stopped in the middle of the path. Grace, Rachel approached, confused. What? Where did that come from? Grace turned to her mother, her eyes overflowing with happiness. Noah gave it to me. Look, Mom, look at the stars. And it has a little bear. Rachel looked at the backpack, then at Noah, then at the man standing further back, watching everything from a distance. Daniel was leaning against his car, hands in his pockets, a discreet smile on his face. When Rachel's eyes met his, he just nodded slightly without approaching. He didn't want to intrude on their moment. Rachel felt her eyes fill with tears. She placed a hand over her mouth, trying to hold back the emotion rising in her throat. It wasn't just the backpack. It was the kindness. It was someone seeing her. It was someone seeing Grace. It was someone caring. She knelt down in front of her daughter and tucked her blonde hair behind her ear, affectionately. It's beautiful, my love. Rachel's voice came out choked, full of gratitude and relief. Grace hugged her mother tightly, still holding the new backpack. Daniel watched the scene from afar. He didn't want the spotlight. He didn't want thanks. He just wanted that little girl to have what she deserved, to be able to go to school without shame, to be able to smile. Noah ran back to his father. She really liked it. I saw. Daniel ruffled his son's hair, proud. You did a good thing today, champ. We did, Dad. Together. Daniel smiled and looked once more at Grace, who was now showing her mother every detail of the backpack, pointing to the little bear, the stars, the pencil case. Something had changed that day. Something small, seamless but powerful. The seed of a story was planted, and it was just beginning to grow. Till the alarm clock rang at 4:30 in the morning. Rachel opened her eyes in the dark, her body still heavy with sleep. She reached out and turned off the alarm before it woke Grace. She lay there for a few more seconds, gathering the strength to start yet another day. Then she got up. The apartment was small, just one bedroom and a living room. Rachel shared the bed with Grace, who was sleeping deeply, hugging the new pink backpack. The girl hadn't let go of that backpack since she got it 3 days ago. She slept with it, woke up with it, took it everywhere. Rachel smiled seeing her daughter so peaceful. At least one of them was resting. She went to the tiny bathroom, washed her face with cold water, and tied her hair in a tight bun. She put on her work uniform, the same black pants and white shirt as always. She checked the clock. 5 o'clock. She needed to leave. Rachel returned to the bedroom and kissed Grace's forehead, who stirred slightly but didn't wake up. The neighbor upstairs would come in an hour to stay with her until it was time to go to school. It was an arrangement Rachel paid for with the little she had left at the end of the month. She picked up her purse, her keys, and left. The street was empty and dark. Rachel walked to the bus stop, the cold morning air cutting across her face. She waited 15 minutes until the bus appeared, almost empty, just her and 2 other night shift workers heading home. 40 minutes later, Rachel got off in front of the Sweet Morning Bakery. The bakery was small but always busy. It was on a bustling corner, with illuminated display cases showing fresh bread, decorated cakes, and colorful sweets. The smell of baking bread filled the entire street. Rachel entered through the back door and put on her apron. "Good morning, Rachel." The bakery owner, an older woman named Margaret, was already in the kitchen organizing trays. "Good morning, Margaret. It's going to be a busy one today. We have a large cake order to be picked up before noon. I'll take care of it." Rachel started working. She organized the display case, put the warm bread on the shelves, cleaned the counters, and prepared the coffee. When the bakery opened at 6:30, there was already a line of customers waiting. The day passed quickly and heavily. Rachel served customers non-stop. She smiled, wrapped bread, operated the cash register, cleaned tables, restocked shelves. Her feet ached, her back complained, but she didn't stop. An elderly woman came in and ordered 3 baguettes. "Of course, Ma'am. Anything else?" "No, dear. Just that." Rachel wrapped them carefully and handed them over. The woman paid and left smiling. Soon after, a hurried man came in asking for coffee and a croissant. "To go?" "Yes, please. I'm running late." Rachel prepared everything in less than a minute. The man thanked her and rushed out, and so it went for hours, customers coming in, ordering, leaving. Rachel on her feet, smiling, serving. The hours passed slowly, but the tiredness came quickly. On her lunch break, Rachel ate a leftover roll from the morning and drank water. She only had 30 minutes before going back. She thought about Grace. Was she doing well at school? Was she wearing the new backpack proudly? Had Noah talked to her again? Rachel smiled. That boy and his father had done something she would never forget. The afternoon was even more intense. Margaret needed to finish the cake order, so Rachel was alone serving customers. The line didn't stop. She barely had time to breathe between one customer and the next. When it finally struck 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Rachel was exhausted. "How you can go, Rachel," Margaret said, coming out of the kitchen with flour on her apron. "You worked hard today. Thank you." "You're welcome. See you tomorrow." Rachel took off her apron, picked up her purse, and left. The bus took 20 minutes to arrive. Rachel got on and sat in the nearest seat, closing her eyes as the vehicle swayed through the streets. Her feet were throbbing, her legs shaking from fatigue, but she couldn't stop. She needed to pick up Grace from school. When she arrived at Jefferson Elementary, she was already late. Rachel ran off the bus and rushed into the parking lot, her heart heavy with guilt. Grace was sitting on the entrance steps alone, hugging the pink backpack. When she saw her mother, her little face lit up. "Mom!" Rachel ran to her and knelt down and checking if everything was okay. "I'm sorry, honey. The bus was delayed." "It's okay, Mom." Grace smiled, trying to be strong. "I waited quietly." Rachel hugged her daughter, feeling her chest tighten. Grace never complained, never cried. She always tried to be strong, even being so small. "Shall we go home?" "Let's go." They started walking toward the bus stop when Rachel heard a voice behind them. "Rachel." She turned. It was Daniel. He was standing next to his car, with Noah beside him. It looked like he was waiting for them. "Hi," Rachel said, surprised. "Are you taking the bus?" "Yes." Daniel hesitated for a second, then said, "Can I give you a ride?" "Both of you. It's on my way." Rachel didn't know what to say. She didn't want to be a burden, didn't want to inconvenience him. "You don't have to. Mom, please," Grace pleaded, looking at Noah, who nodded excitedly. "Please." Rachel looked at her daughter, then at Daniel. He had a gentle smile, with no ulterior motives, Just someone offering help. Okay? She gave in. Thank you. Daniel opened the back door for Grace and Noah, who got in, chatting animatedly. Rachel got in the front, putting her purse on her lap. Thank you, really, she said, adjusting her seatbelt. You don't need to thank me. Daniel started the car and began driving. The interior was clean, smelled good, and was quiet. Rachel felt her body relax for the first time that day. Do you work far? Daniel asked, breaking the silence. A bit. 40 minutes by bus. 40 minutes? Yes, Rachel looked out the window. I work at a bakery downtown. As a clerk. Daniel noticed the tiredness in her voice. He glanced over and saw the dark circles under her eyes, her slumped shoulders, her hands red from so much work. That must be hard. It is, Rachel sighed. But it's what I have. She didn't say anything else, and Daniel respected the silence. In the back seat, Grace and Noah chatted quietly about school, about cartoons, about which snack was better. The children's laughter filled the car with lightness. 15 minutes later, Daniel pulled up in front of the apartment building where Rachel lived. It was old, with peeling paint and cracked windows. But it was home. We're here, Daniel said, gently. Rachel opened the door and got out, helping Grace get out. Thank you for the ride. Just let me know if you ever need one. Rachel smiled, a tired but genuine smile. She held Grace's hand and started walking up the building stairs. Daniel stayed still, watching the two go in. Grace was still waving through the stairwell window, holding the pink backpack. He thought about everything Rachel carried alone, the hard work, the distance, the exhaustion, the young daughter, and he felt something grow inside him, a desire to help, to do more, to be present. Noah looked at his father from the back seat. Dad, Grace is nice. She is, Daniel agreed, turning his attention back to his son. She is. He started the car and drove home, but his mind stayed behind, thinking about Rachel, thinking about how a person could be so strong and so tired at the same time, and about how, perhaps, he could make some kind of difference. Recess at Jefferson Elementary was full of life. Children ran around the concrete playground, shouting, laughing, playing tag among the trees. The sun was beating down, illuminating the colorful playground and the benches scattered around the green area. Teachers watched from a distance, talking among themselves while the students enjoyed themselves. Grace was alone under a large tree, sitting cross-legged on the grass. She held her pink backpack on her lap, running her fingers over the gold stars. She watched the other children playing, running, forming groups, but didn't join them. She was too shy, too small, too quiet. Then she saw Noah. The boy ran out the building door, looking around with attentive eyes. When he found her under the tree, his face lit up. He ran to her, stopping out of breath, his cheeks flushed from running so much. Grace, why aren't you playing? Grace shrugged, shyly. She looked down at her own feet. I don't know who to play with. Noah frowned, as if that was the most absurd thing he had ever heard. With me, of course, come on. He held out his small hand. Grace hesitated for a second, looking at his hand, then at his smiling face. Then she smiled too and took Noah's hand. He pulled her up forcefully, and the two ran together across the playground, their laughter echoing through the air. It was the beginning of everything. In the following days, Noah and Grace became inseparable. Every morning when they arrived at school, Noah looked for her even before entering the classroom. Every recess, they played together. Every dismissal, they waited for each other on the entrance steps. They shared everything. One sunny Wednesday morning, Noah opened his blue lunchbox and saw that he had chocolate chip cookies, his favorites. His mother always packed 6 cookies, perfectly wrapped. He looked to the side and saw Grace opening a small plastic container with only a sliced apple and a piece of bread with jelly. Grace, do you want a cookie? Her bright eyes sparkled with surprise. Can I? Of course. Take as many as you want. Grace took 2 cookies carefully, as if they were precious. She bit into one and smiled, happy. It's yummy. I know. My mum makes the best ones. Noah took 2 cookies too and ate with satisfaction, swinging his feet under the table, happy to share something good with his friend. The next day, It was Grace who shared. She had brought a small box of green grapes that Rachel had managed to buy on sale at the market. Grace loved grapes. They were her favorite fruit. "Noah, want a grape?" "Yes, please." The two ate the grapes sitting under their usual tree, swinging their legs, talking about cartoons they watched on TV. Grace talked about a princess who flew, Noah about a superhero who saved cities. Their laughter filled the playground with pure joy. On a rainy Thursday, when the sky was gray and heavy, recess was moved indoors. The children couldn't go outside because of the heavy rain beating against the windows. The teacher handed out papers, colored pencils, puzzles, and board games. Noah and Grace sat together at a small table near the window, with white paper and a box full of colored pencils. "I'm going to draw a dragon," Noah announced, grabbing the red pencil with determination. "I'm going to draw a flower," Grace said, choosing the pink one carefully. They drew side by side, concentrating, showing each other every detail they added. Noah made the dragon's flames with strong strokes. Grace drew delicate petals with soft movements. "Look, Grace, the dragon is breathing fire." "That's cool. Look at my flower, it has stars around it. Like your backpack." Grace smiled, proud. She loved when someone noticed the backpack. When they finished, their teacher, Ms. Susan, walked past the table and stopped to look at the drawings. She smiled, touched by the concentration and the natural connection between the two. "They're beautiful, kids," she said with a gentle voice. "You two are good friends, aren't you?" Noah and Grace looked at each other and smiled at the same time. "We are," Noah replied with conviction. "The best ones," Grace completed softly. Mrs. Susan patted both their heads and moved on to another table, but she kept thinking about that sweet friendship. On a sunny day with a blue sky, the children ran around the playground playing ball. It was a lively game with makeshift teams and rules that changed every minute. Noah was in the middle of the game, running after the ball, when he saw Grace standing in the corner of the playground, alone, watching but not participating. "Grace, come play." Grace shook her head, shyly. "So I don't know how to play very well." "It doesn't matter, I'll teach you." Noah dropped the ball in the middle of the game and ran to her. He took her hand and pulled her toward the group of children. Some older kids from the other grade grumbled, thinking she was too small, but Noah was firm. "She's on my team." Grace was nervous at first, not knowing where to stand or what to do, but Noah stayed by her side the whole time, encouraging her, protecting her, explaining where to run and when to kick. "When the ball comes, kick it really hard." When the ball finally rolled to Grace, she gave an awkward but eager kick. The ball went into the makeshift goal between two backpacks. Noah celebrated as if they had won a world championship. "You did it. I knew you could." Grace laughed, feeling embraced, feeling part of something for the first time. As the days passed, Noah started protecting Grace naturally. He didn't do it in an exaggerated or forced way. It was instinctive, genuine, as if it were his responsibility to look after her. When older children ran too fast across the playground without looking, almost knocking Grace over, Noah quickly pulled her to the side. "Careful, Grace." When someone took her colored pencil without asking during art class, Noah spoke up firmly. "Hey, she was using that one." When Grace tripped over her own feet or dropped something, Noah was always there to help, bending down to pick up what had fallen. "Are you okay?" Grace felt safe with him. For the first time at school, she didn't feel alone or different. She had someone who cared. The teachers started noticing that special connection. During art class one Tuesday afternoon, Miss Susan watched Noah helping Grace cut colored paper with scissors. She had trouble cutting straight, and he held the scissors with her, gently guiding the movements. "Like this, look." Slowly. "That's it." Grace managed to cut properly for the first time and smiled, proud of the result. "I did it. I knew you could." Mrs. Susan smiled, deeply touched. She commented later in the teacher's lounge during the break. "Did you see Noah and Grace? It's so sweet to see how he takes care of her. We rarely see that in children so young." The physical education teacher, who was drinking coffee, agreed enthusiastically. "Yes, today on the playground, he stayed right next to her the whole time during the game. He didn't let anyone be rude. It's impressive." Another older teacher who taught music laughed fondly. "They really are inseparable." Yesterday I noticed that if one is absent, the other is sad all day. It's a very pure friendship. It was the absolute truth. One day, when Noah was sick with a fever and missed school, Grace spent the entire recess sitting alone under their usual tree, hugging the pink backpack against her chest. She didn't play with other children, didn't run around the playground, didn't laugh. She just stayed there, quiet, looking toward the gate as if waiting for Noah to appear. When the teacher approached and asked with concern if everything was okay, Grace just said in a small voice, "Noah didn't come today." The next day, when Noah returned already recovered, Grace saw him arriving and ran to him without thinking twice. She hugged him tight, wrapping her arms around him. "You're all better," Noah hugged her back, smiling. "I am. I missed you. I missed you so much too." They spent the entire recess together that day, making up for lost time, playing, laughing, running around the playground as if they had never been apart. Meanwhile, outside the school, something was also changing between the adults. Every late afternoon, when the parents came to pick up their children, Daniel and Rachel started seeing each other in the parking lot. At first, it was just polite smiles from afar, quick and discreet nods. "Hi. Hi." Nothing more than that, just courtesy. But after a few days, the smiles turned into small casual comments. "How was your day?" "Tiring, but manageable." "I can imagine it's tough." Then, little by little, the conversations began to grow naturally. On a warm afternoon, while they waited for the children to come out the school door, Daniel approached Rachel, who was leaning against her old car, wiping sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. "They really became friends, huh?" Daniel commented, smiling. Rachel looked at him and smiled too, a tired but genuine smile. "Yes, Grace won't stop talking about Noah at home. It's Noah here, Noah there." Daniel laughed. "Noah is the same way. He only talks about her all the time. Grace did this, Grace said that." There was a comfortable silence between them, just the sound of children in the distance. "It's good," Rachel said, her voice soft. She really needed a friend. She was always so lonely. Daniel noticed something different in her voice, a hidden sadness, a deep worry. "Is she shy?" "A little," Rachel sighed, looking toward the school building. "She's always been quieter, you know. I think it's because it's just the two of us. She doesn't spend much time with other children outside of school. We don't have family nearby or friends with kids." Daniel nodded, understanding perfectly. It must be hard raising a child alone. Rachel looked at him, surprised by the understanding. Most people didn't truly get it. Not really. "It is," she admitted softly. "Sometimes it's very hard." In the following days, the conversations became deeper and more honest. Rachel started opening up little by little, without forcing it, without fear of judgment. She talked about the difficulties of being a single mother, about the brutal exhaustion of working so many hours away from home, about the constant, suffocating worry about Grace. "I wake up every day wondering if I'm doing enough," Rachel confessed one gray afternoon. "If she's really okay, if she's happy, if she's not missing anything important in her life." Daniel listened with true and complete attention. He didn't interrupt, didn't offer empty solutions, didn't judge. He just listened, genuinely listened. "I'm absolutely certain that you are doing more than enough," he said with sincerity in his eyes. Rachel smiled, but it was a tired, heavy smile. "I try with all my might, but there are times when I feel like I don't have time for anything. I work all day on my feet. I come home completely exhausted, and I still have to take care of her. The house, the food, the laundry, everything. And at the end of the day, when she finally sleeps, I lie there wondering if I was a good mother that day." Daniel felt something tighten hard in his chest. He understood that feeling more than she imagined. The constant doubt, the devastating fear of not being enough. "You are a great mother, Rachel," he said firmly. "Anyone who sees you with her realizes that immediately." Rachel looked at him, her eyes shining slightly with emotion. "Thank you for saying that." Daniel increasingly noticed her fatigue. Every afternoon, when he arrived to pick up Grace, Rachel looked tired in a different way. Her shoulders slumped as if carrying invisible weight, her eyes heavy, her feet dragging on the asphalt. He started noticing small painful details, her red and chapped hands from washing so many dishes and working at the bakery, her uniform always impeccably clean but old and worn. The way she smiled at Grace, trying to hide her own exhaustion so as not to worry her daughter. Rachel was strong, incredibly strong, but she was completely alone. "Do you have family here in the city?" Daniel asked one afternoon. Rachel shook her head negatively. "No, my parents live in another state. We haven't talked much for years." "And Grace's father?" Rachel was silent for a long moment, looking at the horizon. "He left when she was 6 months old. Never contacted us again. I don't even know where he is." Daniel felt anger rise in his chest. How could someone just abandon a child? "I'm so sorry about that." "You don't need to be." Rachel shrugged with resignation. "We manage. We always have. We always will." Daniel deeply admired that. Her strength, her unwavering determination, the sweetness she maintained despite carrying so much weight alone. "You're amazing, Rachel," he said, without thinking, letting the words come out naturally. Rachel blushed slightly, looking away. "No, I'm not. I just do what needs to be done. Any mother would. Not every mother does. You do. That's what makes you amazing." They looked at each other for a few more seconds than necessary, and something subtly shifted in the air between them. It wasn't romance yet, not exactly. It was genuine connection, mutual recognition, deep respect. The children came running out the door at that moment, interrupting the instant. "Dad!" Noah shouted, waving excitedly. "Mom!" Grace ran to Rachel with her backpack swinging. The two adults smiled automatically, shifting all their attention back to their children. "How was school today?" Rachel asked, kneeling to Grace's height. "It was great. Noah and I drew and played ball." "That's wonderful, my love." Noah excitedly showed his crumpled drawing to his father. "Look, Dad. Here's a giant dragon." "That's incredible, champ. Congratulations." The children talked non-stop, showing drawings, telling funny recess stories, laughing about things only they understood. Rachel and Daniel just watched with smiles on their faces, happy to see them so joyful. When it was finally time to leave, Daniel naturally offered, "Want a ride?" "It's on my way." Rachel hesitated out of politeness, but Grace was already pulling her hand hard. "Mom, please, please," Rachel laughed, easily giving in. "Okay, thank you." On the way home, the children chatted animatedly in the back seat, while Rachel and Daniel exchanged quick glances in the rearview mirror. They didn't need to say much. They just felt that something was growing between all of them, a sweet and pure friendship between the children, and perhaps, just perhaps, something deeper starting between the adults, something that didn't yet have a name, but already existed. Daniel's car drove calmly through the city streets. The afternoon sun shone through the windows, illuminating the clean interior. Noah was in the back seat, swinging his legs and looking out the window with a thoughtful expression. Daniel looked in the rearview mirror and noticed his son's unusual silence. Normally, Noah talked non-stop on the way back from school. "Everything okay back there, champ?" Noah turned his head, as if waking from a deep thought. "Your dad?" "Yes?" The boy hesitated for a second, biting his lower lip. Then he took a deep breath and asked, "Can I ask Grace to come play at our house?" Daniel smiled. He had been expecting that question for days. "Of course you can." Noah's eyes sparkled. "Really? Really? When do you want to ask her? Tomorrow or the day after tomorrow or any day?" Daniel laughed at his son's excitement. "I'll talk to her mom and we'll arrange it, okay?" "Thank you, Dad." Noah looked out the window again, but now with a huge smile on his face. He was already imagining all the toys he would show Grace, all the games they would play together. The next day, at school dismissal, Daniel approached Rachel while the children were talking on the entrance steps. "Rachel, can I ask you something?" She looked at him, curious. "Of course." Daniel put his hands in his pockets, feeling a bit awkward. Noah wanted to know if Grace could come over to play one of these days, Saturday perhaps. "If you don't have anything planned, of course." Rachel was surprised. She looked at Grace, who was showing something in her backpack to Noah, both laughing. I don't want to bother you." "It's no bother at all," Daniel said, sincerely. Noah keeps asking, and honestly, it would be nice for him to have company. Rachel hesitated. She wasn't used to accepting invitations, to depending on other people. But when she looked at Grace, she saw the smile on her daughter's face. She deserved this. She deserved to have happy moments. All right, Rachel agreed, with a shy smile. Thank you. Great. Saturday afternoon then. That works. Daniel smiled, satisfied. He gave her the address and said goodbye with a wave. When Saturday arrived, Rachel was nervous. She dressed Grace in the prettiest dress she had, carefully combed her blonde hair, and put on her little white shoes. Grace couldn't stop jumping with joy. Let's go, Mom. Calm down, honey. Down. We still have time. Rachel took the bus with Grace, holding her daughter's hand tightly throughout the journey. When they got off on the street Daniel had mentioned, she realized the neighborhood was different. The houses were large, with well-kept gardens, new cars parked in the driveways. She stopped in front of Daniel's house and took a deep breath. It was a beautiful two-story house, with a green lawn in the front and a welcoming porch. It wasn't ostentatious, but it was clearly comfortable. Rachel rang the doorbell. Seconds later, the door flew open and Noah came running out. Grace, you came. Grace smiled, shy but happy. I did. Daniel appeared behind his son, smiling. Come in, please. Rachel entered with Grace, looking around. The house was spacious but simple. There were photos on the walls, toys organized in a corner of the living room, a comfortable sofa. Everything was clean, everything was welcoming. Make yourselves at home, Daniel said, closing the door. Noah, show Grace your room. Come on, Grace. Noah took her hand and pulled her upstairs. Rachel heard the children's laughter echoing down the hallway and smiled. Do you want some coffee or water? Daniel offered. Water, please. They went to the kitchen. Daniel took a glass, filled it with cold water and handed it to Rachel. She drank slowly, still feeling out of place. You can sit. Make yourself comfortable. Daniel pointed to the kitchen table. Rachel sat down, placing her purse on her lap. Daniel sat across from her, relaxed. Grace is quite shy, isn't she? She is. She's always been quieter. Noah is already drawing her out of her shell. Daniel laughed. Cyrus, it won't be long until she's running all over the house. Rachel smiled, imagining the scene. I hope he has patience with her. He has plenty. He loves looking after her. Upstairs, in Noah's room, Grace looked around, enchanted. The room was full of toys organized on shelves, a bed with superhero sheets, a small desk with colored pencils and papers. Wow, Grace whispered. What do you want to play with? Noah asked, excited. I have cars, building blocks, games, action figures. Can I choose? Of course. Grace walked to the shelf and picked up a box of colorful blocks. Noah smiled and grabbed another identical box. Let's build a castle. A castle! They sat on the floor and started building. Noah explained how to fit the pieces. Grace listened attentively and copied. Soon they were laughing, talking, creating imaginary towers and bridges. The hours flew by. Rachel and Daniel talked in the living room, listening to the children's laughter from upstairs. She noticed how Daniel spoke of Noah with genuine affection, without exaggeration, without pressure. He was present, attentive, but let his son be a child. Do you raise him alone too? Rachel asked. Daniel nodded, his smile fading slightly. Yes, his mother passed away when he was 3. Rachel felt her chest tighten. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Daniel looked at his hands. So it's not easy, but we manage. I understand. They were silent for a moment, a respectful, understanding silence. Then Noah ran downstairs, followed by Grace. Dad, can I show Grace the backyard? You can, but don't leave the yard. Okay. The two ran out the back door. Rachel stood up and went to the window, watching the children play in the backyard. Grace was running after Noah, laughing, completely uninhibited. It was the first time Rachel had seen her daughter so free, so happy. She's having fun, Daniel said, appearing next to her. Very much. Rachel smiled, moved. Thank you for this. You don't need to thank me. Time flew. When Rachel looked at the clock, it was almost 6 in the afternoon. Wow, I didn't even notice the time. I need to pick her up. Wait a moment, Daniel said, a bit awkwardly. I ended up making dinner. I actually made too much food. Do you want to stay? Rachel hesitated. She didn't want to overstep, didn't want to inconvenience him. I don't have to, will... Mum, please. Grace appeared at the kitchen door, her eyes shining. I want to stay. Noah appeared behind her, equally hopeful. Please, Dad, let them stay. Daniel looked at Rachel, smiling. Looks like they've already decided. Rachel laughed, giving in. Okay. Daniel started setting the table while Rachel offered to help. He gently refused and asked her to just sit down. Minutes later, he brought out plates with pasta, homemade tomato sauce, grilled chicken and a simple salad. Nothing elaborate, he said, a little embarrassed, but it's what I know how to make. It looks great, Rachel said sincerely. They sat down at the table. Noah and Grace side by side, Rachel and Daniel at the ends. The table quickly filled with life. The children talked non-stop, told stories from the day, laughed at silly things. Rachel watched everything attentively. She observed how Daniel treated Noah with natural affection, how he laughed at his son's stories, how he served food without pressuring him. He was gentle, simple, warm. There was no coldness, no distance. Despite the large house, despite the nice car, despite everything he clearly had, Daniel was genuinely humble. This pasta is delicious, Rachel complimented. Thank you. It's my grandmother's recipe. Did she teach you how to cook? Yes. She used to say every man needs to know how to manage in the kitchen. Rachel smiled. She liked that. She liked the simplicity, the honesty. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone, didn't feel judged, didn't feel inadequate. She felt part of something. Grace asked for more juice. Noah spilled a little sauce on his shirt and laughed. Daniel wiped it with a napkin without minding. Rachel helped Grace cut her chicken. Everything was natural, easy, light. It was like a family. After dinner, the children asked to watch a cartoon. Daniel turned on the TV and put on a children's movie. Noah and Grace sat together on the sofa, sharing a blanket. Rachel helped Daniel wash the dishes, even though he insisted she didn't have to. You already did everything. Let me help with this, at least. They washed side by side, in comfortable silence. Rachel washed, Daniel dried and put away. There was something intimate about it, something simple yet deep. Thank you for today, Rachel said softly. Grace really needed this. We're the ones who thank you. Noah needed it too. Rachel turned to him. You're a good father. Daniel smiled, a bit embarrassed. I try. And you succeed. They looked at each other for a second longer than they needed to. Then Rachel looked away, returning to the dishes. When they finished, they returned to the living room. The children were almost asleep on the sofa, their eyes heavy, but still watching the movie. I think it's time, Rachel said, gently. Grace stood up, sleepy, and hugged Noah. Thank you for today. Can we play again? We can. Daniel offered a ride home. Rachel accepted without hesitation this time. In the car, Grace slept in the back seat, her head leaning against the window. Rachel looked ahead, her heart lighter than it had been in months. When they arrived at the apartment building, Daniel helped gently wake Grace. The girl said goodbye, half asleep, and went upstairs with her mother. Thank you again, Rachel said, standing at the car door. You're welcome anytime. Rachel smiled and entered the building. Daniel stayed put, watching until the apartment lights turned on upstairs. He sighed, satisfied. Something was growing, something good, something real, something that warmed his chest. He started the car and drove home, thinking about when the next time would be, because he already knew there would be a next time, and many others after that. As the weeks went by, and without anyone realizing exactly when or how, the school routine changed. Daniel and Rachel no longer saw each other for just a few minutes at dismissal. Now they talked every day, without rushing, without obligation. The conversations flowed naturally, as if they had always been part of that routine. One Monday, while waiting for the children to come out, Daniel commented about his work. Rachel listened attentively, asked questions, laughed at a funny story he told. Then she talked about the bakery, about difficult customers, about how Margaret had burned an entire cake that morning. "And she got nervous?" Daniel asked, laughing. "Very. She was grumbling all morning." They laughed together, comfortable, without forcing anything. On Tuesday, Rachel showed up with a paper bag in her hand. When she saw Daniel, she approached him somewhat shyly. "I brought this for Noah," she said, handing him the bag. "They are chocolate buns. We had some left over at the bakery today." Daniel took the bag, surprised and touched. "Rachel, you didn't have to." "I know, but he likes them, right? Grace said he loves chocolate bread." Daniel smiled, feeling warm inside. "He really does. Thank you very much." "You're welcome." On Wednesday, when Rachel got off the bus carrying 2 heavy grocery bags in addition to her purse, Daniel saw her from afar. She was staggering, trying to balance everything while looking for Grace with her eyes. He quickly approached her. "Let me help you." Rachel looked at him, relieved. "Thank you." Daniel took the 2 heavy bags, feeling the weight. Was she carrying that alone? "This is very heavy." "I know," Rachel sighed. "But I needed to buy a few things." They walked together to where the children were. Grace and Noah ran to meet them, excited as always. Daniel continued carrying the bags to the bus stop. "Are you sure?" "It's far from here," Rachel said, worried. "I'm sure. I'm not going to let you carry that alone." They waited for the bus together, talking about simple things while the children played nearby. When the bus arrived, Daniel helped put the bags inside and waved through the window. Rachel waved back, grateful. On Thursday, it was Daniel who brought something. He had bought some new children's books for Noah and brought an extra one. "I thought Grace would like it," he said, handing the book to Rachel. It was a story about a little girl and a unicorn. Rachel was speechless for a second. "Daniel, you don't have to." "I know I don't, but I want to." She held the book against her chest, moved. "She'll love it." "Thank you. Don't mention it." On Friday, it was raining heavily. The parking lot was wet, puddles forming everywhere. Rachel didn't have an umbrella and waited with Grace under the school canopy, watching the rain with concern. Daniel approached with a large umbrella. "Come on, I'll walk you to the stop." "You don't have to, we'll wait for it to pass." "Rachel, it's going to take a while. Come on." She gave in. Daniel opened the umbrella and the 4 of them walked together, huddled under the fabric. Noah and Grace laughed at the rain, jumping in the puddles. Rachel and Daniel walked side by side, so close that their shoulders touched. There was something intimate about it, something simple yet deep. When they arrived at the bus stop, Daniel waited with them until the bus arrived. He only left after seeing them safely inside. Rachel looked out the window, watching him walk away with the umbrella. She felt something warm in her chest. On the weekends, the children started seeing each other more often. Noah would go to Rachel's apartment or Grace would go to Daniel's house. They played, drew, watched movies, ate together. They were inseparable. At school, teachers commented on the friendship between the two. They sat together at snack time, shared everything, always played in the same corner of the playground. When one was absent, the other was sad all day. "They're like siblings," Mrs. Susan commented to Daniel one afternoon. He smiled. "They are." Rachel and Daniel also grew closer. Their conversations at school dismissal lasted longer and longer. They talked about their children, about work, about life. They laughed together, confided in each other, supported each other. One afternoon, Rachel talked about a bill she couldn't pay on time. "I tried, but I couldn't. It's going to be a few days late." Daniel listened attentively, without judging. "It'll all work out. You always figure things out." "I know. But it's tiring, you know." "I know." He didn't offer money, didn't try to solve it. He just listened, and that meant more to Rachel than anything else. On another afternoon, it was Daniel who confided about the loneliness of raising Noah alone. "Sometimes I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, if I'm doing it right." Rachel placed her hand on his arm, a gentle gesture. "You're doing great. Noah is an amazing kid." Daniel looked at her, grateful. "Thank you." The small gestures continued to grow naturally. Rachel always brought something from the bakery for Noah. Daniel always helped with bags, with rides, with anything Rachel needed. They walked together to their cars, talking, laughing, creating a comfortable routine. The children noticed. "Dad, do you like Grace's mum?" Noah asked one night before bed. Daniel hesitated. "She's a very nice person." "But do you like her?" "I do. She's my friend." Noah thought for a second. "I like her too. And Grace." Daniel smiled, ruffling his son's hair. "I know, champ." Grace asked the same question to Rachel days later. "Mom, do you like Daniel?" Rachel was washing dishes and almost dropped a plate. "What? Do you like him?" Rachel dried her hands, thoughtful. "He's a good friend, honey." "But do you like him?" Rachel smiled, not knowing exactly how to answer. "I do, he's a good person." Grace nodded, satisfied, and went back to playing with the pink backpack. The bond between Daniel and Rachel grew slowly, but steadily. There was no rush, no pressure, just respect, care, genuine attention. They became part of each other's routine without realizing it. Daniel couldn't imagine picking up Noah without seeing Rachel there. Rachel couldn't imagine school dismissal without talking to Daniel. It was something new, something good, something that warmed both their chests. One Friday, Daniel offered a ride as always. On the way, they talked while the children sang in the back seat. "Thank you for everything," Rachel said suddenly. Daniel looked at her, surprised. "For what?" "For everything." "For the rides, one, for the friendship, for being so kind to Grace." Daniel smiled. "You don't have to thank me. You're part of our routine now." Rachel felt her heart tighten with emotion. "You're part of ours too." They looked at each other for a second, and something passed between them. Something unsaid but felt. Something that was growing, slow but constant. And they both knew that this was just the beginning. It was a Thursday afternoon when Noah realized something was wrong. Grace arrived at the school gate differently. She didn't run to him as she always did. She didn't smile. She just walked slowly, dragging the pink backpack on the ground, the gold stars scraping on the concrete. Noah ran to her, worried. "Grace, why are you dragging your backpack?" Grace looked at him with clear eyes full of sadness. She clutched the backpack straps and shrugged. "It doesn't matter." "Yes, it does." "What is it?" Grace hesitated. Then she looked around to make sure no one else was listening. She leaned close to Noah and said softly, her voice trembling, "I think I'll have to stop going to school. It's hard for Mum to pay for everything." Noah felt his chest tighten. He widened his eyes. "Stop studying." "Why?" "My mum said it's too expensive. The snacks, the bus, the supplies, she can't manage it." Grace lowered her head, embarrassed. Noah stood still, not knowing what to say. He had never thought about that before. He had never thought that someone might have to stop studying because of a lack of money. "But you can't stop. We're friends." "I know." Grace wiped away a tear that escaped. "But I don't know what to do." Noah held her hand tightly. "Wait. I'm going to talk to my dad." He ran off before Grace could even answer. He ran across the parking lot, searching for Daniel with desperate eyes. When he found him leaning against the car, Noah arrived breathless, pulling his sleeve with urgency. "Dad! Dad!" Daniel immediately knelt down, seeing his son's alarmed face. "What is it, Noah? Is everything okay?" "No." "Grace, she said she has to stop going to school." Daniel frowned, confused. "Stop studying, why?" "Because it's too expensive for her mum. She can't afford it." Daniel felt something heavy drop in his stomach. He looked around and saw Grace standing alone near the entrance, her backpack dragging on the ground, her face lowered. Rachel hadn't arrived yet. "Stay here, Noah. I'll be right back." Daniel walked over to Grace, who raised her bright eyes as she saw him approaching. She tried to smile, but couldn't. "Hi, Grace." "Hi, Uncle Daniel." He knelt in front of her, placing a gentle hand on her small shoulder. "Are you okay?" Grace shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. "So I think I'll have to stop coming here." "Why, sweetheart?" "Because it's too expensive for my mum. She works really hard, but it's not enough." Daniel felt his heart clench. He knew that pain. He knew it too well. "That's not going to happen, okay? I promise." Grace looked at him, wanting to believe. "Don't you promise?" "I promise." Minutes later, Rachel arrived in a rush, stepping off the bus, out of breath. When she saw Daniel talking to Grace, she quickened her pace. "Sorry I'm late. The bus—" Daniel stood up and looked at her seriously. "Rachel, can we talk?" She noticed his tone and became worried. "Of course." "Did something happen?" Daniel asked the children to wait near the car, while he and Rachel walked a few steps away. He put his hands in his pockets, choosing his words carefully. "Grace told Noah that she's going to have to stop going to school." Rachel felt her face heat up with shame. She closed her eyes for a second, taking a deep breath. "She shouldn't have said that." "But is it true?" Rachel hesitated. Then she nodded, her voice low. "I don't know what to do anymore, Daniel. I work as much as I can, but it's not enough. The rent went up, the electricity bill was high, and there's still the transportation here. Her snack, the supplies the school asks for. I can't cover everything anymore." She rubbed her face with her hands, exhausted, defeated. "I thought about moving her to a closer school, a public one, where it doesn't cost anything. At least that way I can keep her studying." Daniel listened to everything in silence. He knew Rachel was fighting with all her might. He knew she was doing the impossible. But it still wasn't enough. And he understood that in a way no one else did. He took a deep breath and looked Rachel in the eyes. "I need to tell you something." Rachel looked at him, surprised by the serious tone. "What?" Daniel looked away for a second, as if gathering courage. Then he faced her again and said, his voice laden with contained emotion, "I had a very poor childhood, Rachel." She blinked, not expecting that. "What?" "I grew up with nothing," Daniel continued, the words coming out slowly, heavily. "My mother raised me and my brother alone. We lived in a tiny apartment town with mold, no heater in the winter. She worked 3 different jobs and we still went hungry sometimes." Rachel was silent, just listening. "I went to school with patched clothes, worn-out shoes, without a snack. I was always the boy who had the least, the boy the other kids looked at with pity. And I hated that. I hated feeling small, inferior, invisible." His voice trembled slightly. "When Noah told me that Grace didn't have a backpack that day, I saw myself in her. I saw the child I used to be. And I couldn't let it go." Rachel felt her eyes fill with tears. She didn't expect that. She never imagined that Daniel, with that beautiful house, that car, that comfortable life, had come from where she was now. "I know exactly what it's like to be the child who has the least," Daniel said, his voice firm but emotional. "I know how much it hurts, how much it leaves a mark, and I don't want Grace to go through that." Rachel covered her mouth with her hand, trying to hold back the crying. She had never felt so understood in her life. "I didn't know—" "No one knows," Daniel shrugged. "I don't usually talk about it, but you need to know. Because I understand. I truly understand." Rachel wiped the tears streaming down her face. She looked at Daniel differently now, not as someone who had everything, but as someone who had fought, who had suffered, who had won, as someone who understood. "Thank you for telling me that," she said, her voice choked. Daniel took a step forward, approaching her. "Let me help, Rachel." She immediately shook her head. "No, I can't accept charity." "It's not charity," Daniel said firmly. "It's help. It's empathy. It's one person who has been through this wanting to prevent another child from suffering the same." Rachel hesitated, her pride battling with necessity. "I don't know, Daniel." "You don't need to decide now," he said, softening his voice. "Just think about it, okay? Think about Grace. She deserves to stay here. She deserves to have the same opportunities as the other children." Rachel nodded, unable to speak. The emotion was stuck in her throat. Daniel placed his hand on her shoulder, a gesture of genuine comfort. "You are not alone anymore." Those words broke something inside Rachel. She started crying for real, covering her face with her hands. Daniel didn't invade her space. He just stood there, present, silent. When she finally calmed down, she wiped her face and looked at him with gratitude. "Thank you." "You don't need to thank me." They were silent for a moment, just looking at each other. It wasn't romance, it wasn't attraction, it was something deeper. It was recognition. It was 2 people who carried similar wounds, who understood pains that no one else saw. It was real connection. Rachel took a deep breath and looked at Grace, who was playing with Noah near the car. "I will think about what you said." "All right." They walked back to the children, who ran to meet them. Grace looked at her mother with hope in her eyes. "Mom, will I be able to stay at school?" Rachel knelt down and hugged her daughter tightly. "Yes, my love, you will." Grace smiled, relieved, and hugged her mother back. Daniel watched the scene, his chest tight but warm. He had done the right thing, he knew it. And for the first time, Rachel didn't feel so alone. She had someone who understood, someone who saw, someone who cared, and that changed everything. 3 days passed since the conversation in the school parking lot. Rachel couldn't stop thinking about Daniel's words, the revelation about his past, the offer of help he had made with such sincerity. But pride still weighed like a stone in her chest. It was Friday afternoon when Daniel approached her again. The sky was cloudy, threatening rain. The children were playing near the car, drawing on the ground with colored chalk that Noah had brought in his backpack. Rachel was watching with a tired smile when Daniel approached with slow steps. "Rachel, can I talk to you?" She turned, feeling her heart speed up slightly. "Of course." They moved a few steps away, close enough to see the children but far enough to have privacy. Daniel put his hands in his pockets, his face serious but gentle. "I've thought a lot over the past few days." "Me too," Rachel admitted, looking at her own feet. Daniel took a deep breath as if preparing for something important. "I have a foundation. We work with social projects, education, support for families in vulnerable situations, and I need someone in administration." Rachel frowned, not fully understanding what he was getting at. "You need to hire someone." "Yes." Daniel looked directly at her, firm. "And I want to offer the position to you." Rachel felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. She blinked several times, confused, thinking she had misunderstood. "For me? For you?" "But I don't have experience with that, Daniel. I work in a bakery. I serve customers, clean tables, make coffee, organize stock." "And you are organized, responsible, punctual, and extremely hard-working." Daniel interrupted, with firmness in his voice. "I've seen how you take care of Grace alone, how you manage despite everything, how you fight every day. That's worth more than any college degree." Rachel shook her head, frightened by the proposal. "I don't know if I can do that kind of job." "I know you can." She looked at the ground, her heart pounding erratically. Her head spun with 1,000 thoughts at once. Fear, hope, doubt, gratitude. "What would the hours be?" she asked, still hesitant. 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. No mandatory overtime, no weekends. Rachel did the math mentally. She would wake up at 7, drop Grace off at school with time to spare, work 8 hours, and still have time to pick her up without the desperate rush as always. "And the salary?" Daniel mentioned a figure. Rachel widened her eyes, unable to believe what she was hearing. It's almost double what I make now." "You deserve this. And much more." Rachel felt her eyes well up with tears immediately. She covered her face with her hands, the emotion overflowing uncontrollably. "I can't accept this, Daniel. You're doing charity for me." "It's not charity," he said, his voice firm but incredibly gentle. "It's a fair opportunity, an opportunity that you deserve and that you will make good use of. And I trust you, Rachel. I truly trust you." She took her hands away from her face and looked at him, completely vulnerable. "Well, why are you doing this for me?" Daniel hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "Because I've been on the other side of this story. I know exactly what it's like to wake up every day without knowing if you'll be able to pay the bills at the end of the month. I know what it's like to look at your child and feel like you're not managing to give enough. And when someone reached out and gave me a real chance, my life changed completely. I just want to do the same for you." Rachel wiped the tears streaming down her face, breathing deeply and profoundly. She looked at Grace, who was laughing loudly as she drew colorful flowers on the ground next to Noah. Her daughter deserved more. She deserved stability, security, quality time with her mother. "All right," Rachel said, her voice shaky but determined. "I accept." Daniel smiled, visibly relieved and genuinely happy. "Seriously?" Seriously, thank you. Thank you so much for this chance. You don't need to thank me. You'll be great, I'm sure. Rachel laughed nervously, still processing everything that was happening. When do I start? Monday, if you can. I'll send you all the details and the exact address over the weekend. She nodded, her heart lighter than it had been in years. The following Monday, Rachel woke up at 7 in the morning, not at 4:30, not in the complete dark of dawn. At 7, with the sun already shining through the small bedroom window, illuminating Grace's still sleeping face, she got ready calmly for the first time in a long time, put on a simple but presentable outfit she had saved for special occasions, woke Grace up without haste or rush. Good morning, my love." Grace opened her eyes slowly and smiled. "Good morning, Mom." The two ate breakfast together at the small kitchen table, chatting peacefully, laughing at silly things. "Mom, you look different today," Grace commented, biting into a piece of toast with jelly. "Different how?" "Happier. Your eyes are shining." Rachel smiled widely and kissed her daughter's forehead with affection. "That's because I am, my love. Very happy." They left together, took the bus without rushing, and arrived at school with plenty of time. Rachel dropped Grace off at the entrance, waved to Daniel, who was arriving with Noah, and headed straight for the foundation. The office was only 15 minutes by bus from the school. It was a small but extremely organized building, with bright rooms, plants in the windows, and a visibly welcoming team. Daniel greeted her personally at the reception, introduced all the colleagues one by one, showed her the different areas of the office, and finally led her to her desk. "Here is your workspace. If you have any questions, no matter how small, just ask." Rachel sat in the swivel chair, looking around amazed. She had a modern computer, papers organized in colorful folders, a mug of hot coffee that someone had kindly left for her, and even a small plant on the desk. It was real. She really had an office job. The first few days were intense and challenging. Rachel learned to use spreadsheets, organize digital documents, answer formal calls, file contracts, but she was incredibly fast to learn, hard-working to the limit, dedicated to every detail. Daniel would stop by her office a few times a day to check if everything was okay. Always respectful, always gentle, always patient. The weeks went by quickly, and Rachel's life changed radically. She no longer came home completely exhausted, her feet bleeding inside old shoes, her back aching from standing so long. She came home tired, yes, but it was a completely different kind of tiredness. A mental fatigue from someone who worked sitting down, thinking, organizing, solving problems. Not from someone who stood for 12 straight hours carrying weight and serving hundreds of people. She had time to cook real dinners for Grace. She had time to play with her before bed, to read stories, to gently style her hair. She had time to talk properly, to hear about her day, to be genuinely present. Grace was absolutely radiant. She noticed the dramatic change in her mother almost immediately. Rachel smiled more frequently, laughed at silly things, was visibly calmer and more rested. And this reflected directly in the girl, who came home every day extremely excited, telling funny school stories, showing colorful drawings, asking to play and do activities together. "Mum, can you teach me how to make chocolate cake?" "I can, honey. How about Saturday morning?" "Really? Really?" Grace hugged her mother with all the strength her little arms allowed, too happy to be able to express it in words. Financial security also finally arrived. Rachel managed to pay absolutely every bill strictly on time for the first time in many months. She even managed to save a little money in a savings account she opened especially for emergencies. When she looked at her bank statement online and saw the positive balance for the first time in years, she cried tears of pure relief. Daniel noticed the profound change in her. She arrived at school to pick up Grace with a visibly more rested face, brighter and livelier eyes, her shoulders much less heavy than before. "How's work?" he asked one sunny afternoon. "Great. I truly love it. Thank you, Daniel, from the bottom of my heart. You're doing very well. Everyone in the office likes you and comments on your work." Rachel smiled broadly, proud of herself for the first time in a long time. As time passed, the conversations between Daniel and Rachel naturally changed tone. They became progressively deeper, more honest, more intimately personal. It wasn't romance, it was absolutely genuine human connection. One grey, rainy afternoon, while they waited for the children to play safely inside the car because of the heavy rain pouring down outside, Daniel said something he had never before verbalized to anyone. "Sometimes I feel profoundly alone." Rachel turned to him immediately, surprised by the raw vulnerability in his voice. "Alone?" Daniel nodded slowly, looking at the heavy rain beating persistently on the windshield glass. "The house is too big for just two people. It has 4 spacious bedrooms, a huge living room, an entire backyard, but it's completely empty. Noah and I alone in all that space. Sometimes the silence is so heavy it's deafening." Rachel remained completely quiet, just listening with full attention. "The evenings are definitely the worst." He continued, his voice low and strained. "I put Noah to sleep, read a story, close his bedroom door carefully, and then I'm completely alone. I sit in the empty living room, turn on the TV without really wanting to watch anything, but I can't concentrate on anything. I just sit there, in the absolute silence, thinking." "Thinking about what?" Rachel asked, with extreme gentleness. "About my wife, about the devastating void she leaves in our lives, about how absolutely everything was infinitely easier when she was here with us. She knew how to care for Noah in a way I simply never will. She instinctively knew what to say in difficult situations, how to hug him just right, how to calm him down when he was nervous." His voice trembled slightly, vulnerable. "So I clearly see it in his eyes. Sometimes he painfully misses having someone who cares for him exactly as a mother would. I try with all my strength every day, but it's simply not the same thing. And that constantly haunts me." Rachel felt her heart clench hard inside her chest. She profoundly understood every word because she lived something painfully similar. "So I understand perfectly, Daniel," she said softly. "I feel exactly the same way with Grace. She never had a truly present father in her life, never had anyone to play ball with in the park, to fix broken toys, to carry her when she's too tired to walk. And sometimes I see her looking sadly at the other children playing with their fathers, and I deeply feel like I've failed her terribly." Daniel turned completely to Rachel, seeing his own perfect reflection in her pain. "You have never failed her, nor have you failed Noah." They fell into a deep silence for long seconds, just sincerely sharing that mutual pain. It was absolutely not romantic. It wasn't physical desire. It was simply two fundamentally lonely people honestly recognizing the deep loneliness in one another. It was human, true, profoundly real. "It's extremely difficult to raise a child alone," Rachel said, breaking the silence. "It is," Daniel sincerely agreed. "But we are genuinely doing the absolute best we can." "We are." Rachel looked directly at him, seeing for the first time the real man behind the carefully constructed facade, not the extremely financially successful man, not the seemingly perfect father, but the profoundly lonely man, emotionally exhausted, constantly haunted by devastating losses and paralyzing fears. And she saw herself completely reflected in him. "Thank you for sharing something so personal with me," she said with sincerity. "Thank you for genuinely understanding." They turned back to look at the rain falling outside. But now there was something fundamentally different between them, a deep mutual understanding. Her genuine emotional intimacy that went far beyond empty words. The children ran back to the back seat at that exact moment, laughing loudly, slightly wet from the rain. "Dad," Grace managed to jump in a giant puddle. "Mom, did you see? It was so much fun." The adults automatically smiled, instantly returning to the present, to their essential roles as dedicated parents. But something profound had definitely changed between them. They were no longer so painfully alone. They had each other, not as passionate lovers, but as people who genuinely understood, who truly saw, who sincerely cared. And that was infinitely more powerful than any superficial romance. It was absolutely real. It was profoundly human. It was exactly what both desperately needed, and it was just the beginning. The months went by, and without anyone noticing exactly when or how, the two families began to naturally come together. There was no specific moment, no formal decision. It just happened. Fridays turned into a dinner tradition. Sometimes at Daniel's house, sometimes at Rachel's small apartment. Nothing elaborate, nothing formal, just pasta, baked chicken, simple salad, food made with care, shared in good company. "Mom, can I set the table?" Grace would ask, excited. "You can, my love." Noah would help, bringing the plates, organizing the cutlery. The children laughed as they worked together, as if they had always done that. During dinners, the table came alive. Noah told funny stories from school. Grace showed drawings she had made. Rachel talked about work. Daniel commented on foundation projects. There was constant laughter, overlapping conversations, affectionate interruptions. It was noisy, chaotic, imperfect. It was family. On Saturdays, the gatherings were spontaneous. Daniel would call in the morning, "Do you have any plans today?" "None." "How about the park?" "Perfect." They would meet at the park, bring snacks, watch the children play. Grace and Noah ran together, climbed the slide, competed to see who could swing the highest. Rachel and Daniel sat on the bench, talking peacefully, just enjoying the moment. "Look how well they play together," Rachel would comment, smiling. "They look like siblings," Daniel would agree. And they really did. Noah protected Grace instinctively. When other children were too rough, he would step in front of her. When she was afraid to climb a high playground structure, he would hold her hand and climb with her. "I'm here, Grace. You can do it." Grace trusted him completely. She followed him everywhere, laughed at his jokes, shared all her childhood secrets with him. "Noah, can I tell you something?" "Always." They whispered to each other, conspiratorial, inseparable. Rachel and Daniel walked side by side during these outings, always talking. There was a discreet intimacy between them, something that didn't need to be announced or explained. They just existed comfortably in each other's space. "How are you doing?" he would ask. "Better, much better. I'm glad." They talked about everything and nothing. About fears, hopes, future plans. About how quickly the children were growing up. About how time passed without warning. "Sometimes I look at Grace and can't believe she's already 5 years old," Rachel would say. "I know. It feels like yesterday Noah was a baby." There were comfortable silences too. Moments when they simply walked together, watching the children, feeling each other's presence without needing to fill the space with words. Sundays were calmer. Sometimes they watched movies together in Daniel's living room, the children wrapped in blankets on the floor, the adults on the sofa. Sometimes they baked cookies in the kitchen, Grace and Noah getting flour everywhere while Rachel and Daniel supervised, laughing. "Noah, the dough is for eating after baking," Daniel would warn. "But it tastes so good raw," Grace would laugh, supporting her friend. "It's true." Rachel would shake her head, amused. "Let them be, Daniel. We did that when we were kids too." He would smile, giving in. "All right, but just a little bit." Affection was growing between everyone, not just between the children, but between the adults too. A respectful, careful affection, built slowly over the months. Daniel deeply admired Rachel. Her strength, her dedication, the sweetness she maintained despite everything she had been through. He liked being near her, hearing her voice, seeing her smile. Rachel felt the same way. She admired Daniel's kindness, his patience with Noah, his humility despite his success. She felt safe next to him, understood, valued. But neither of them spoke about it openly. There were no romantic declarations, no promises of eternal love, just small gestures, lingering glances, smiles that said more than words. "Thank you for being here," Rachel would say sometimes, "always." He would reply, and it was enough. One clear Monday morning, something different happened. Daniel stopped in front of Rachel's apartment earlier than usual. "I thought I'd pick you up today. That way we arrive together." Rachel smiled, touched by the gesture. "Thank you." Grace was thrilled to see Noah in the car. She rushed in, already chatting non-stop. "Noah, I had a funny dream." "Tell me." Rachel got in the front, buckling her seatbelt. She looked at Daniel and smiled. "Good morning. Good morning." They drove peacefully through the city streets, the morning sun illuminating the way. In the back seat, the children laughed, played, made plans for recess. When they arrived at school, they parked and got out together. The four of them walked side by side along the sidewalk towards the entrance. Grace had her pink backpack swinging cheerfully on her back, the gold stars shining under the sunlight. Noah held her hand naturally, as he always did. The two chatted excitedly, skipping the entrance steps. Rachel and Daniel walked just behind, smiling as they watched the children. Their shoulders almost touched, their steps perfectly synchronized. Other people looked as they passed. Acquainted parents waved, teachers smiled seeing them. Everyone presumed they were a family, and perhaps they were, in a different, non-traditional, but real way. "Dad, Grace's mom, come look," Noah called, pointing to something in the school garden. The two approached, curious. It was a butterfly perched on a flower. "How beautiful," Grace whispered, marveling. "Make a wish," Noah said. Grace closed her eyes tightly and made her silent wish. Noah did the same. Then the butterfly flew away, disappearing into the blue sky. "What did you wish for?" Rachel asked her daughter. Grace smiled mysteriously. "It's a secret," Noah laughed. "Complicit." "Mine too." The bell rang, calling the children inside. Grace and Noah quickly said goodbye to their parents and ran to the entrance, still holding hands. Rachel and Daniel stood still, watching the children disappear through the door. Then they turned to leave, walking side by side back to the car. "They're happy," Rachel commented softly. "They are," Daniel agreed. "And so are we." Rachel looked at him, feeling her heart warm. "We are." They got into the car and Daniel started the engine. Before leaving, he looked at Rachel. "What do you think about having dinner at my house tonight? I can make that lasagna Noah loves." Rachel smiled. "Grace will love it." "I will too. Then it's a date." He drove off and drove through the quiet morning streets. Rachel looked out the window, thinking about how life had completely changed in just a few months. She was no longer alone. Grace was no longer sad. They had found something precious, not just financial help or superficial friendship. They had found a family. Different, makeshift, built slowly, but family nonetheless. Daniel thought the same thing as he drove. He was no longer alone in that big, empty house. Noah no longer missed a mother figure so much. They had found Rachel and Grace, and everything had fit together perfectly. It wasn't perfect. There were still challenges, uncertainties about the future, hidden fears. But there was hope. There was genuine affection, there was deep respect, and there was time. All the time in the world to find out what this would become. Maybe one day there would be romance. Maybe there would be declarations and promises, or maybe not. Maybe that deep friendship, that careful partnership, was exactly what everyone needed. The future was open, full of possibilities, but one thing was certain, they were no longer alone. And that, for now, was more than enough. It was everything. It was the beginning of something truly beautiful, and it was just beginning to grow. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.